We are recording with Dr. Limeng or Dr. Yen on Monday, November 6th, 2023 at 5:37 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you so much for doing this. Guys, if you go in the description, you can go follow her on Twitter. But Doctor, would you please introduce yourself for my audience?
Hi, Tommy. Thank you for having me. I'm Dr. Limeng. I come from China. I escaped from Hong Kong to the United States in April 2020, and I'm a medical doctor as well as a virologist. I'm a PhD, and I work in the WHO reference lab in the University of Hong Kong for over 5 years, and so that's why I was among the first to conduct the investigation about the SARS-CoV-2, the COVID-19 virus out of mainland China. It started from the end of 2019, and all the things I found, I discovered, and based on scientific evidence, it tells the real origin of the COVID-19 virus. And I started reviewing it since January 2020, and later on, because China government was hunting me, so I have to escape to the United States. And then I published three major reports on the origin of COVID-19. It reveals why COVID-19 is a bioweapon, come from CCP's unrestricted bioweapon project, and it provides evidence about the original backbone of this virus and a lot of network people involved. So after that, and people start to realize the lab origin is not the conspiracy. And now we see after 3 years, majority of Americans understand that it's not from the nature. The virus come from the lab. And so I'm still fighting to make people understand the origin and to help people hold the Chinese government accountable for the pandemic.
And so, if you could explain it to someone with, luckily for me, I have a biology background, but if somebody had no background, I think was it Einstein that said if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well enough. So if you had to explain it to just a random person on a plane or on a bus or listening to this podcast that really has no firm grasp of biology or, molecular engineering, how would you don't need to convince me, but how would you convince someone, or not convince, but prove that it is from a lab? Just in the simplest, in an analogy or, X, Y, and Z. If you had 5 minutes with somebody, how would you have them walk away from it convinced that it is from a lab?
So first, I don't think we need to convince people, because some people never accept the thing you provide, and even
Sure.
with the evidence. But the thing is, we provide it for people who want to know the truth, to do their own research to understand it. So for the laymen, I always tell them this virus, first, it was not in the nature, because in the nature we don't have such high transmissible human infected coronavirus before, and previously we just had it's like the common cold, or it was like back to early 2000, 2003, 2004, it was SARS-1, but it never caused a pandemic. And also, we never found any animal host for this virus. So that means, even until now, after 3 years, and China government and a lot of scientists desperately want prove it come from nature, but they cannot find any animal. Although they have done thousands of animal tests, they can't find any animal was the live host, carry this virus and transmit to human. And also, even they talk about the seafood market in Wuhan, they cannot provide evidence with animal DNA and the virus RNA together to show this was a sample that some animal carries the virus. And the animal doesn't like the virus, because there was some test, we called it affinity. So in this test, scientists has done a lot of research. They realize, so all these animals, they don't like, they have some similar receptor as human. So this thing can bond together. It's like the key and the lock, right? So the virus likes the key, and your receptor is like the lock, and the right key opens the right lock. So which key can open the best lock you can open definitely is the best one with the highest affinity. So the thing is, virus have this key, and all the other animals they don't have such best lock. So human is the best luck for this virus. That's why at that time people get transmitted very quickly, and the pandemic happened in a very short period. And also there are a lot of evidence. It's like for layman, you can consider it as the fingerprint. You know, when we do the forensic examination, we see the fingerprint. We know, okay, this means who is a suspicious guy, a criminal, or maybe the criminal. But when we see the virus and we're talking about lab origin, we have identified some fingerprinting is the solid evidence in the SARS-CoV-2 virus, especially in the virus come out from Wuhan, because now it become variants, right? So we are talking about the original virus from Wuhan. So basically, if you examine the sequence, it is just some letters, like the alphabet letter, right? ACTG, this kind of nucleotide. And when you examine it, you will see that there was such fingerprint evidence tell you who has done the lab modification. So it's like they're using their previous very well known protocol, and they leave some evidence inside. It's like cutting paste, and then they leave the evidence. You also can consider it's like, you know, if your grandma can make special cake, and every time you eat the cake, you know, oh, this recipe comes from my grandma, right? No one else uses it often, but yeah, so this is their recipe. So all like this, and also we have seen some other evidence, including the previous academic publication from People's Liberation Army. It has provided the original coronavirus from the bat, which cannot infect human. But after the modification, if you see based on that virus, and you see all this copy paste part, and you see this kind of manipulation of the nucleotide, and with some part have their meaning, okay, finally you can get this virus. And also all this technology is quite available. It's not a high advanced technology, it's just the traditional or some very common skills. And all these things are available in Chinese scientists and the military scientists labs. So I don't know whether this is enough for people to have a basic idea that why this virus comes from the lab. But what I can tell you is, even we don't talk about what happened, those propaganda after the pandemic, those people try to cover up, mislead you, even we remove those things, just look into the evidence from the virus itself, combined with the knowledge in this field, it's not that difficult for people to understand the origin, or at least they should think about the lab origin of this virus.
And now when it comes to the next step, can it ever be known what the intention was? So, like, you know, we could look at Lee Harvey Oswald, right, who you know killed John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963, and we can, you know, to a degree say he did do this. Here's the gun, here's how he hit him, here's the gunpowder, the fingerprints, here are the files. You can go find the CIA files, the FBI files, and you know, you can piece it all together, kind of like we're talking about now with nucleotide sequences and zoonotic transfer. And for the most part, you can look at it and go, okay, that happened. But then we kind of approach the impossible when people start to say, well, why did it happen? You know, was he a KGB agent, or was he just a lone gunman, or was he anything in between? Can we, and it's you know, with unrestricted warfare, when you do look at the 100-year marathon or the long march to the institutions or fighting the United States, are we looking at is there any way that we could ever know for sure that it was released intentionally or that it escaped, in the sense that, to play devil's advocate, the United States has been researching these weapons forever. I've interviewed Dr. Ken Alabek, the former head of, he defected from the Soviet Union. He was the head of biopreparat, right? And like they were always researching this stuff. They didn't they didn't want to release it because it would hurt them too, but they were still studying this stuff. So there actually is, and clearly I'm biased with the American flag behind me. I don't necessarily believe it was unintentional, but to play devil's advocate, there is precedence for researching something with no intention of actually releasing it. So in your opinion or speculation, was it intentional or did it jump out?
I keep telling people from the beginning it was intentional.
Okay.
The release was intentional. What I mean is, according to the evidence and information I have now, although, of course, at this moment, I cannot tell you the person like Xi Jinping and also
Sure.
some of the staff, what exactly they were thinking, how exactly they were talking, and finally make decision. But the thing is, we need to know first, it happened in the community in Wuhan. And for me, work in such high level biosafety level 3 laboratories, I know how strict the protocol is. Even though, I mean, people talk about, I mean, majority of these people talk about this kind of lab safety issue have no experience working in biosafety level 3 laboratories using virus. But I have used even coronavirus, COVID-19 later to publish the Nature paper. So I can tell you, it cannot escape like that. So if you said, you image someone doing experiment and spill over, make the lab mate get infected, it could be, but this kind of spillover always can be restricted in the very limited range. We have this kind of even back to SARS-1, there was the spillover, and there were even some people get infected and finally die in certain labs. But it never caused outbreak and even pandemic, because we always have very, like in this kind of level 3 lab, you always have your own airtight system, your isolated air system, your alarm, and also your strict protocol to isolate people who may get infected, and also to quarantine people even in this building. And if it happened in such professional, even back to China, trust me, those people could be like sloppy in some common experiment. But for the virus, which is lethal, and they studied, they know it can never happen. Especially, we will talk about this virus is a product of the bioweapon project. So think about nuclear bioweapon. Will you assume the nuclear bioweapon spill over from the arsenal? No, it never happened, right? And also, I need to know, I have some evidence from the insiders. They have told us there were secret meetings even before the military games. Do you remember the military games in Wuhan
Yes,
at
ma'am.
the end of October 2019? Before that, there was a military exercise. And that military exercise was held 1 month before in Wuhan. In that military exercise, from the open source, you will see they have successfully conducted the scenario. That's one of the scenario is certain person come from other country to join the military games, but he got infected for novel coronavirus. And then after treatment, he is safe. However, we got the very top classified information that for that military exercise in September, CCP has approved to use this real COVID-19 virus for human trial. And that means it will be released in the community, because the whole exercise conducted in Wuhan International Airport and involved the local doctors, local hospitals. And that was approved by Xi Jinping. And then later on, we say that military games. And after that, soon after this, like around several weeks in Wuhan, outbreak already happened. From early December, end of November, outbreak already become worse. So that means the virus was previously, at least in the military exercise, was approved to release for certain purpose. And then let's think about, do you think it is accidentally after that and the virus spill over from the lab again and infect people? And also, let's go back to say People's Liberation Army, CCP's military's own bioweapon book. Okay, after SARS-1, military bioweapon expert Xu Dezhong, who's a general, has written a book. That book became People's Liberation Army's textbook on bioweapon, and in one topic. It's the title of the name of this book is SARS-1, Non-Nature Origin. And the coronavirus can be a virus to make the gene editing bioweapon targeting human. That is the meaning of the name. And in that book, I have cited and translated some in the Yen report. It said clearly to use the coronavirus to make the SARS-like gene bioweapon against the human, you have to do the trials, experiment, in the environment exactly similar to what your enemy's environment. So that means communities. And also, they said that will optimize the result to know the virus. And it also talk about once the release of this novel bioweapon was recognized by scientists, because people will know, oh, it's not from the nature, it comes from the lab. Then what should do? Denial, reject it, using lies and propaganda. And that's all what we have seen after the outbreak in Wuhan. However, I want to tell people is I don't think China government, Xi Jinping, want release this virus in Wuhan and cause outbreak in Wuhan. They want to have some limited infected area. But because they underestimate the high transmissibility of this virus, so it finally become out of control. That's why in the beginning, if you go back to check China government's words, they claim it's under the control, right? But it was out of control. So this is some part out of their control, but it doesn't matter for them. They take the advantage of it and spread it over all the world. And that's basically how it happened and why it was intentional. And if you check the propaganda, if you check the infiltration, manipulation, and you check the response from China government and pro-CCP campaign, you will see everything is kind of pre-organized and they can respond very quickly.
So you don't think they wanted to release it? They did want to release it, but they didn't want to release it.
They didn't expect the outbreak in Wuhan. You should know that when you try to modify some virus, it's not, I mean, it's impossible for you to understand all the characters of the product. So why I know they underestimate the transmissibility? Because I'm the first with my team in Hong Kong U published the Nature paper that was in May 2020, half year after the outbreak, to tell people that the right animal model, golden hamster, to test the transmissibility of SARS-2 virus. Before that, the scientists don't have the proper animal model to test the transmissibility. And there was no such protocols in the labs, and they never think about it to test the transmissibility before they release it. Because SARS-2, when we say it happened, especially back to the beginning of the outbreak and the pandemic, at that time, the transmissibility was very high. It was shocking. So they have done something and they know they want it infect human, it can. They want it to cause the lung problem and pneumonia, and it causes the immune disorder, it can, but they miss the transmissibility. And they use the wrong animal model, mouse, to test it. So they can't see the result about the transmissibility in the labs.
Hmm. What was the, well, then what do you think is the ultimate, or what was the intention of releasing it? So, I mean, and this might just be my own limited understanding of warfare, but I would imagine that you would want something that is, kind of like what they were researching in the Soviet Union. Was Ebola, Marburg is the most wild, destructive things, and then part of me looks at it and goes, well, maybe you don't want something that destructive because that would warrant a nuclear retaliation. I mean, if you released Ebola in New York and we found out it was China, I mean, that's instant war. So I get that. Maybe you wanted something that's more like a coronavirus that kind of just everyone freaks out and it leads to the destruction of the economy. But it also seems like China was very much so hurt by this. What was the purpose? Was it just to shake up the world? Was it to scare the United States? Was it to show the United States like, hey, they're willing, they're not going to go quietly into the good night. They're going to fight for the top spot in the world. What was the overall purpose? Because I mean, if it's November 2023, and looking back at it now, and I don't really see any one nation getting a leg up on another nation as a result of COVID-19.
It was not to destroy one nation, certain nations totally.
Okay.
The bioweapon, especially this, I call it unrestricted bioweapon because it's a normal bioweapon combined unrestricted tactics. It was to target the other, like, of course, US is always a primary enemy, and UK, Japan, these are all China's enemy. It is to create chaos and undermine you. So let's say we know just recently Hamas attacked Israel, right? In a very flashing attack. But does it mean it killed Israel government? No. However, it created a lot of chaos.
Gotcha.
And also, if Israel didn't respond quickly, if US didn't intervene at that time, put the Navy there, so the things could be much worse, right? So also, it's like this COVID-19 bio attacks. When Xi Jinping shut down Wuhan, locked down Wuhan, but let innocent Chinese people who are already infected fly all over the world, bring the virus around. And even before that, remember, China told WHO no human-to-human transmission, and people should not worry about it at all. And that was during Chinese New Year period. It was the biggest traffic among in China in every year. It would enhance the transmissibility of the virus, right? So all these things, the result is to make you get bio attack before aware of that. And also, still it goes back to the bioweapon textbook by People's Liberation Army. When it mentioned coronavirus is a perfect ideal candidate, it says because we have the bioweapon convention, right? And China joined that. So bioweapon convention countries, they have their own list. If you check, there are different versions. Russia, Europe, US, they put almost similar passages, as you mentioned, Ebola, right? Marburg, all these viruses. But none of that has put coronavirus inside. What does it mean? It means coronavirus will escape your surveillance system, and you even cannot easily define it as bioweapon because it was so mild before. Even in SARS-1 period, the death rate was not very high. And also, when we talk about SARS-2 virus, as a PLA textbook has stated, they want some new bioweapon using coronavirus, which could maintain the death rate lower than 2%, because that will make the enemies initially most vigilant, right? And also, low death rate virus can spread better than high death rate virus. This is a biologic principle. And the third thing is, they said, for example, one person gets sick, one patient by the infected by the new bioweapon, and it will take the enemy at least 3 labors to take care of this patient. So totally the enemy was 4 labors. And after you take over the enemy's field, and the 3 labors who are helping the patient can be your labors. Yeah. So this is a very evil idea, and that's why it's unrestricted tactics. So what we have seen is, after the pandemic, right? Remember, because US cannot identify it as a bioweapon, especially back to that time. And at that time, WHO, NIH, and so many virologists, they're already either corrupted or influenced by China or pro-China campaign. So they insist it comes from nature. So the whole countermeasures, public health policies are different, right? And it causes panic. It causes death. It causes the overload in the medical system. It causes economic fall down. And it causes people thought that were targeting your presidential election. Anyway, it did affect something in certain level, right? So all of these are the result. And without this pandemic, it should not happen. And China, after that, yeah, Chinese people die. But do you know the real number? You don't know. I don't know. Because they even don't document it. Those people are just number or even not included. In Xi Jinping's idea, in CCP's idea, in their unrestricted warfare idea, that it's not to conquer you in a short period, but it is a competition in the kind of longer time, as long as US, China's enemy, can go down quickly, more quickly than China.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's already what they want. So after that, Xi Jinping has held the anti-COVID trophy exhibition in China. The whole CCP celebrate it because they believe that has really give a big kind of destruction for America. And also there were other kind of think tank document, CCP's document. They're talking about how infectious disease could make the big country fall and the other country rise. And in those documents, China is a rising country, US is a falling country.
Yeah, and Michael Pillsbury's book, The 100-Year Marathon, and General Brigadier Spaulding's book, Stealth War. Yeah, that's what they talk about is, in the United States, we look at things in terms of 3-month financial quarters, or we look at it in terms of our lives. But in the mindset of the Chinese military, it is accurate and it is intelligent. It doesn't make it not evil, but it is intelligent, and it's just a very slow moving. It doesn't need to happen like that. It's let it, even World War II, we look back at that, and that was what, 1939 to 45. That's 6 years. Don't even worry about that. Look at it in terms of 60 years, 100 years. Just slowly nudge them, and to the point where when it finally does happen, the people at the beginning of the race are all dead, and the people at the end of the race are all new, and no one, you don't even really feel it. You're just like, what, oh, now they're in charge. So that sense is very, very evil. It is, there is no, and it's also, it's not necessarily military. You're not going to go toe to toe with every tank and every plane. So it's a form of asymmetric warfare, right? I mean, it is, it is very intelligent. It's evil, but it's very intelligent. How do you, as someone who is an expert in this, how do you adequately counter it? What is the counter to this?
You mean the counter to the disease itself, or you mean the counter to the bioweapon project?
To to the not just the disease, because that's, you could break that down into just into a scientific, I guess, fighting against it. But how do you counter this? So if we're looking at it, we're going, this is a genius tactic, right? Unrestricted warfare, the long march. It's working. Is there any way to fight this without becoming it? So I always use this example. We dropped the atomic bomb August 6th and August 9th, 1945, 15 kilotons and roughly 20 kilotons. Just 6 or 7 years later, they came to Truman and they said, we're going to develop the hydrogen bomb. The hydrogen bomb is 1,000 times as strong. It's 15 megatons. It's 20 unfathomable amounts of power. And these were all the top scientists from the Manhattan Project, and they came and they met with President Truman. They kept calling it an evil thing. They had no other word for it. It was so destructive. It was the evil thing. And the meeting with the president only lasted, I think, 7 minutes. And it's because Truman asked, can the Soviets do it? And they said, not yet, but yes, they will be able to do it. And he said, well, then we have no choice. Go ahead. And the idea was that it can't be stopped. So we might as well have it to deter them. In that same vein, how do you stop a nation willing to use a form of warfare like this? Do you have to become it, or is there a way to fight it without becoming that evil? Not that you know the answer to this. I guess this is more philosophical. It's kind of out of the realm of biology, but just your thoughts on that.
Just based on my experience, that
Yeah.
the truth is very powerful, and we need to wake people up. And so, as you just asked me how to convince people, I don't convince them. From the beginning, from the moment I provide my evidence to the initial, it was back to January 2020, right? I provide the evidence, I contact the most influential anti-CCP YouTube blogger, a Chinese guy based in US, Holder. His Holder Media is very influential. I contacted him and he's a layman. So I spent 2 days to explain the fact, the principle to him and answer his question. And he understand that, okay, based on the communication, I'm the person who know it. And he sees the circumstantial evidence, which like CCP's response, WHO's response, and other sources from maybe China, right? So he know. Finally, he decided to deliver it. And also that makes a huge change from China government in handling the outbreak pandemic. And then when I go to US, the moment I came into the customer in Los Angeles airport, I was stopped by the custom officer and later the FBI officers. During the 8 hours I transit, because I will go to New York at that time, I talk to them. I tell them why I came here, and also I tell them I have the evidence about the origin of COVID-19. So they also like ask me questions, document things, and then they were convinced because they feel what I told them was logical, and also it fits their their understanding. It can they can understand it. So it's not I intentionally need to persuade them. It's just people have their own logical thinking and common sense. And if they want to get answer, they definitely will follow the clues I provide, and they will have their own understanding and conclusion. And then later I go to Fox News and Tucker Carlson, right? So when people, when people feel panic and also nervous about this mysterious pandemic at that time, what I told in public provides them more materials for their own research. And the more and more people joined me, even we don't know each other, like some Germany top physics scientist, someone from Netherlands, a virologist, and someone from US, a military expert or other people. So some of them told me they don't believe what I said initially because it was too shocking. But then they read my report. It is academic report with several hundred of reference for them to do their own research. And then they later spend time and they say, oh yeah, it really worked as I explained. So they understood by themselves, they learned it by themselves. And more people finally start to understand it. Some are very professional, some in the layman level, but they all know this is something wrong, not from nature. And that's why people ask for the investigation. People demand the truth. And we have seen that after several months, since March 2021, when WHO came to Wuhan, did a very quick check in the Wuhan lab and announced with China government that, oh, we are convinced that the virus comes from the animal. People don't accept it. And from that time, majority of people, especially majority of Americans, start to change their attitude on the origin of COVID-19. And that will push the later policies, investigations, all these actions forward. And so we don't need to talk too much. Now, people have already changed, Americans changed their feeling to Chinese Communist Party, right? We just try to think about before the outbreak, what's your feeling to China? Friend, panda-like, cute, right? And after that, what's your feeling? Evil, try to harm you, a lot of espionage everywhere, try to give US people trouble, right? Yeah, so that is a result of the truth, the power of the truth. And what I can do is in the past 3 years, not only for COVID truth, because later on, a lot of Chinese people, they have seen my effort and they have seen the feedback from Americans. So they are encouraged. And they take, some of them are in the central government of CCP or even very close in Xi Jinping's circle. So they deliver intelligence, classified intelligence to me and my friend, to my team. They take some life risk. So after that, I also keep delivering the top classified intelligence from Central CCP and their tactics, their strategies against the US and free world to the public or to the people who can handle this information. And many of these, a lot of this information already get verified, and it helped a lot for people to defend freedom.
So you must accept the constant imminent death, right? You would, if I do interviews with somebody like you or Dr. McCullough or Dr. Malone, the worst that happens is I get some mean emails or I get banned. I'm banned from YouTube. I'm banned from Twitter. Whatever. You're going up against the biggest mafia on the planet. You've got to. Have you made peace with whatever could happen? I would imagine you'd have to, right? You can't go into this. You're clearly not stupid. You know what the repercussions are. Have you made peace with that? Just whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You're doing the right thing, and that's what's important.
If we talk about talk about this, situation back to 2020, early 2020. What I know was if I contact Mr. Mulder to reveal it to the public through the media, then the moment I contact him, because he's such influential anti-CCP, I was in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I could be immediately detected by CCP. And I could be immediately disappeared as all those pro-democracy Hong Kong activists, students, young people, right? However, I mean, I cannot tell myself not to do that because I'm a doctor and a virologist. I will be guilty if I don't tell the truth to the world. Especially at that time, I say the WHO was covering it up with China. My supervisors, my bosses in the WHO lab, they are all working for CCP. That made me very disappointed. So after that, I try to do my best to protect myself. It was definitely not professional. And that's why until middle April 2020, Mr. Luda called me from US, informed me that if I don't leave Hong Kong to go to US, I would be disappeared in a short period because he received certain information. And I made the decision, but something you never expect what would happen to you if you try to fight against such evil regime. For example, at that time, before I leave, who's the most dangerous people around me try to disappear me for CCP? To be honest, one is my husband. Another is my biggest boss. My biggest boss, Malik Paris, is what Dr. Fauci respected. Dr. Fauci hold party in New York for him, call him SARS-1 celebrity. He's an academic member of American Academy of Microbiology. He's top one virologist on coronavirus in the world. And my husband is also WHO expert. So I was lucky. I managed to escape. But more things happened after that. It's like if we're talking about Twitter shut me down initially in back to 2020 after I published the first year report. Remember at that time, even the whole social media was shocked that how could Twitter suspended my account? But later on, it becomes something routine, right? Everyone was suspended almost. And also like the mainstream media all attack me, smear me. And the top scientist just stay there and say, oh no, what she said was baseless and that was not right. And they are using very cheap lies, just twist my words or cite certain evidence I have and add their emotion or their words, try to change the evidence, right? Try to use their word to repackage it and to tell people, say that's not right. So they're using all this very cheap way to attack me. However, my understanding is because this is not individual kind of conflicts. This is between me and one of the biggest regime in the world, right? So I reviewed their top strategy bioweapon things. Definitely, they will recruit their power to attack me. So in this case, I'm very confident that my evidence is solid. So no matter what they do, it only can show how cowards they are, how nervous they are. And so that's why I don't feel scared or want to back up, I never want to withdraw, right? But I need to protect myself. So for me, the most important thing is how to hide in a safe place and not let them find me and physically catch me or disappear me.
Yeah.
So this is something very interesting, very special. But what I want to tell people is, this is kind of force and counter force, right? It's always a physical principle. So you do the big things, it want to wake up so many people in the world. Definitely the evilness hunting you would be very strong. And I don't think they can win.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it does. Yeah, it's gonna balance itself out. And that's gotta How does that change? What? So how does that influence your opinion on people in the United States that really have no idea how good they have it here for all the flaws of the United States? Someone like you that really does understand the importance of simple things like freedom of speech or privacy or the ability to talk out against this and how it is not the norm to be able to criticize the government. Does that make you angry or disgusted when you see people here that think America's evil or don't appreciate just it's like your sacrifice and your daring is that's just one little puzzle piece of the entire history of the United States. It's made up of people who are, willing to look at something and go, that's evil. Or, that's we're not doing that. And I might die from this. What feeling does that evoke in you? I feel like that would you just disgust.
No, I don't have this kind of
Okay.
bad emotion because first I know the United States would be the only place if I could be safe and speak out the truth of COVID origin, as well as the other things later on to anti-trans communist party. It's the most, secure place in the world I can find. And yeah, I am still alive, so it prove it, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't have this kind of sad feeling. Yeah, sometimes I would feel kind of frustrated. It was because when I see people's weakness, like how easily they were used by Chinese government, like Fauci or Peter Daszak, these people, Ralph Baric, they can be used as, they are the useful idiot in
Hmm.
communist ideology, right? And they are willing to be the useful idiot, even they know after that they will be abandoned, right? But they don't mind. But that make me feel kind of frustrated because it shows the weakness of human, and it shows even how easy the scientists can be bought so cheap. And also, I have seen that people might get even they start to understand life origin, but they may get misled by other theories. Like I remember one theory was COVID virus never exists, right? So they claim that because no one has seen it, so it never exists. We never seen a lot of things. It's like my friend always say, you never seen your grandpa's grandpa, but it doesn't mean your grandpa doesn't have a grandpa,
Yeah.
right? And also, even sometimes I reply them on social media. I show the evidence because my husband was the first one isolate the COVID-19 virus and take the electronic microscope photo published out of mainland China. And I use the same virus to do the experiment. So we do have the authority to tell people the virus exists, but it doesn't, as I said, when people don't want to be convinced, you can never convince them. So, and also when Ukraine Russia war started, our source has already told us. So we are the first to warn people Russia will invade Ukraine. That was half months before the invasion started, because at that time Xi Jinping and Putin signed the secret deals in the Beijing during the Winter Olympic opening ceremony. So after that, you see the Ukraine bioweapon produced the COVID-19 virus and bioweapon. Ukraine labs did it with US come out, right? So for me, it was very clear to see how this come out, because when US people start to realize the lab origin and even the bioweapon nature of COVID-19, China was hurried to find another scapegoat to blame. And their ultimate goal is to destroy US. So if they could use propaganda to brainwash people to believe US is the root of evilness, then that will solve all the problem China faces. So that's why they use the Ukraine biolab to make up this theory and spread it all over the media, right? So when I say people get affected by such theories, I would also temporarily feel frustrated. But I know that this kind of propaganda cannot last long because, before we understand the truth, before everyone has an idea of this pandemic, when COVID happened, China already threw out the nature origin theory, right? Even at that time, they could not successfully control people's mind on the origin. So after that, all this effort will only be less and less effective. And so we just need to, when people come to ask me, I will just again and again provide them my analysis and based on the new evidence and also the circumstantial evidence. So people will little by little along the time, they will understand the fact. So these are the things we always will meet. I mean, I know COVID, I know China, but I don't know many other things. So for me, it's also easy to fall some traps or this kind of cognitive warfare problems if they make some new issues, right? And so it always takes us time to learn it, to try to avoid of the traps. It's something we don't need to feel angry or feel sad or feel whatever. We should know that as long as there's some voice keep telling the truth, and this voice is not suppressed, not like in China or in Russia, totally suppressed, disappeared, then there will always the chance for people to finally understand the truth. And even we see now between Israel and Hamas, we have seen so many people, even pro-Hamas from the universities in the United States. If it, there was some criminal activity also. Of course, it should be handled by the federal agents or the government. But if not, then we should think about what's wrong with the education system and what's wrong with the social media, propaganda or TikTok, right? And then people just need to keep speak out and show evidence little by little and try to use your voice to wake up those people's consciousness. And so finally, I would believe that all these kind of negative things we see is just temporary. It will never end, but it will always move forward as long as we keep doing something.
It'll go forever and ever and ever and ever. So
Yeah.
that's what I was going to ask you to kind of bring it all together. Is do you meditate or do you pray or do you? Because I always look at this life. I meditate every day, and I have been for 15 years. And I always, every once in a while, when you can get your mind quiet and really slow down and just examine it, you do start to look at it more as like, what is all of this? Is it just a lesson? Is it a learning module that lasts an entire life, that we're seeing different things play out and good versus evil and point, counterpoint, courage versus cowardice? What do you think it all is, right? I mean, I feel like if I was you at a certain point, maybe just sitting in a chair, I'd start to wonder like, what is this a test? Am I passing it? It's you, and then your husband's the one that isolated it. It's like, so like doing like interviews, right? Getting banned or something. Sometimes I look at it, I'm like, I feel like I'm taking a. I was pre-med in college. I got into medical school, studying for the MCAT, and as you go on and on, you're always looking at things as tests, and you're like, do I even know I'm being tested? Like, what is going on? What do you think about, I guess, ultimate reality at large?
So first, when we talk about the religion,
Yeah.
I converted to be Christian in 2021, 2 years ago,
Okay.
because all what I have experienced make me believe that God is protecting me because I'm doing the right things on His side, and a lot of things I cannot explain. So I finally understand it's because it's not only my own effort; it's I'm active. And so, yeah, I will pray. And when we talk about meditation, I don't do that kind of meditation. Like, for example, every day, 1 hour, sit there, just like the ritual. But for me, I think meditation is the format to make you calm down. You
Yeah.
see your own heart, right? So like you sit there, you're standing there, or you're doing something. It all can be an alternative meditation. You make
Hmm.
yourself relax, and that's why you can see yourself clearly. You have a better idea of what you're doing and what you're going to do. You can see the situation more clearly, right? So for me, I can tell you that like when I was in the University of Hong Kong doing the virology work, I feel the experiment is kind of meditation for me because
Hmm.
I could calm down, do the things, and observe the things, and I have an idea what I want to say and what I should have done, should do, and to make it happen, all like this. So I think that is kind of training, and also as a doctor training, it also provides me this experience because you need to sit clearly to understand your patient's situation and make a quick judgment, right? So these are all the kind of pre-training. And for me now, I have more time because I don't need to work in the laboratories as before. So I'm more flexible. And I always try to calm down, make myself calm down, and make my brain kind of relax and think about what happened and what is going on, and think about something maybe bring me certain emotional feedback and how to handle it. And I think this is something many people who do the meditation would experience, just in different format, and it's helpful.
Yeah, coming through this, doing this podcast has entirely brought me back to. I grew up Christian, and then I was an atheist for like 15 years. My experiences and the interviews I've done through this podcast has actually brought me back to God and to praying and to, because eventually the rational mind, we're talking about experiments, and I did aquatic toxicology research in undergrad, and you're looking at everything as numbers and okay, control experiments and what are the differences. And when something doesn't add up, you start to realize, there's another influence here. What is it? When it comes to life, you start looking at everything and you're trying to tally it all up, and you go, there is another variable that I'm not seeing. And to me, the conclusion was, it's God. I can't. There's something else. It's like how they say, like, if you calculate the spin of a galaxy, all the matter of the planets and the stars doesn't add up for it to behave in this way, and therefore there must be something, dark energy, dark matter, and you go, it's something's not right. Um, that's how have begun to kind of look at this life. I'm like, no, there's something looking out for me, that it's not entirely, like you said, it's not entirely my efforts. I'm like, I work hard, but I don't work that hard. Something's happening, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you, it's kind of brought me all back to God, which then you realize it's all going to be okay. So I don't know. Maybe it is all going to be okay. Well, with that, Dr. Yon, I say we wrap this up. I don't know if we can make it any better than that. That it's all going to be okay. So thank you so much for coming on here. I'd love to have you on here again. And yeah, I'll shoot you an email after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's very nice. I mean, very interesting conversation with you. And yeah, when we talk about galaxy and mass, I want to say that when I studied immunology and virus, it made me realize more that this should not be something human can understand at
Oh
this
yeah.
moment. This system is so dedicated in who designed that. And all the things factors restrict each other, the balance in the imbalance. I mean, all these things are so amazing.
Hmm.
And so I really love my virology, immunology research. I
Yeah.
miss it. And yeah, I will say you're as assessist, right, for 15 years.
Yeah.
You remember, I was born in communist China, so I was assist for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And I was taught there is no God, there is no relation, all the stupid things. So it takes me time to little by little figure it out. And finally, you see, we come to the same page.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's what you're saying about immunology. I think it was the last class I took in college was molecular biology. And I
Mhm.
remember that was the one where I'd always looked at things and you'd hear people say like this is too complex. This has to be creation. And I'm like, no, it's you can explain it atoms and molecules and hydrophobic effects and nuclear. You look at it, you go, no, I can see it working. When I got to molecular biology and just seeing the intricate dance of proteins within the cell, I would just start to look at it and you go, this, this is so incomprehensibly complex and not just complex, but it's working in such perfect synchronicity.
Yes.
If it was a watch, you look at it, and you go, what a beautiful piece of craftsmanship, right? If you
Yes.
see, if you see, I don't know, an airplane taking off and a jet turbine, and you go, what a wonderful piece of engineering. When you look at the cell, and we'd have to look, watch animations. I'm sure you've seen those like those animations of like a protein walking down like a tubule or something. You're looking at it and you're going, this is perfect. And that I think in hindsight I can look at was maybe the beginning of my my descent or ascent into realizing like, oh, there's something here that it's this is a level of genius and intelligence that is beyond comprehension, right? It's like when didn't they say like who was it when he was looking in the microscope and he looks at pond water and he looks at it and goes, there's a whole universe in there. And they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is all this crap? I thought it was just water. That's kind of what it's like. You start to zoom in, you go, yeah, it's nothing. And then you realize it's a life more. It looks like you're looking at a city from an aerial view, but looking into a cell in molecular biology, you just kind of walk away from it and you're like, it's like an acid trip. You're like, what did I just see? And it's all around you at every moment. It's in all, and then you're not even thinking about it, but all this is happening. And then how do all those things interacting that creates us? And it's you and
Yes.
I having this conversation. And it starts to, yeah, it starts to, I don't know, you start to almost get a little bit giddy. And you go, it's so to look at this all and be like, there's nothing there. It's all just protein bumping around. It's like, no, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. This is genius. It's yeah. So it is kind of beautiful. It's a beautiful thing is to, and I would imagine if so we like biology, but I imagine if maybe you got really into, I don't know, calligraphy or architecture, maybe if you look at anything long enough, maybe it eventually brings you back to God. I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'd have to live a couple lifetimes to conclude that. I don't know. But
Anyway,
yeah,
so when I talk about that, it's just like what I said. During the virology experiment or medical study, you could practice meditation
yeah,
because you have the same idea, so you have the same thinking when you observe these things. And in the meditation, you do the same thing.
yeah, yeah. No, it is. Yeah. So yeah, when you feel that peace, then you look at something like doing the right thing. You go, oh yeah, no, it's easy. We're good. It's all good. It's all fine, right? It's all fine. Yeah. I feel better after this. Dr. Yin, thank you so much. Thank you for your patience with uh with my conversations. I know they don't necessarily stay on topic, but that's what I like about them.
I hope people don't think these are two nerds.
No, I don't know. I don't care. No, no, I never care. I enjoyed it. I think you enjoyed it, and that's all that I
Yeah.
care about. Everybody else, whatever. So thank you so much. Well, I already gave you the link, but I would love to have you back on here sometime, and
Yeah.
I'll send you an email, and if you want to talk to anybody else I've ever had on this show, I've had on some crazy guests. I can put you in touch with them.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, guys. Please go in the description. Please go follow her on Twitter. Till next time. Thank you so much.